Hey guys, how you going? Alright, just wanted to do a video just to give you a bit more information in regards to hypnosis, the hypnosis techniques that are used upon all of us. Now, hypnosis itself, it exploits the physical limitations that we have while we are in this experience, in this lifetime, in the vehicle, the vessel, the body that we're in. So it actually exploits the physical limitations of this. So a way I could explain this is pretty much our spirit and our consciousness is pretty much, it is unlimited. It is pretty much unlimited. Its potential is phenomenal. It is, but while we are in our vessel, our body, we're bound by the limitations of that. So another explanation is basically, you could take, say, for instance, the best race car driver in the world. Now, if you take them and put them in a small four-cylinder hatchback car, well, then they are bound by the physical limitations of that vehicle. So they could be the best driver and everything, but their limitations are bound by the physical aspects of the vehicle that they are in. Okay, so but just say, for argument's sake, or you're very good friends with Marty McFly, Dr. Emmett Brown, and Exhibit. And they want to come down and take a quick look at this hatchback and maybe do some upgrades. So they put in a V12 twin turbo nitrous injected engine. They put at the front of this vehicle a particle disruptor. So now drag, resistance and friction are a thing of the past. And what the hell, we'll even throw in a kick-ass stereo system and a nice new spray job. This vehicle now far exceeds the experience of the driver that is in there, and basically that driver now has much to learn. Okay, we'll move on anyway. Alright, so in regards to hypnosis, these are just things that I have noticed, and these are just things that have shown up now, and I'm sure there's probably more things that I could add to this, but so far, or thus far, these are the things that I have noticed and recognised and documented, and that's why I'm here to share with you all, to give you information about it. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a list of things and then I'll explain more of each thing as I go along through this video. So 1, mind-bending language. 2, verbal confusion technique. 3, handshake confusion technique. 4, verbal whisper technique. 5, verbal mumble technique. 6, trigger word click technique. 7, persuasive suggestion technique. And 8, visual overload technique. So these are just some things that I've noticed and techniques that are used by these entities, the controllers of this world, and I'll give you a bit more information in regards to them all. Okay, so pretty much I'll give you a brief rundown of how hypnosis works. So when someone says hypnosis, people will automatically think of the pocket watch on a chain, and that's fairly primitive. It still works, but people will just naturally assume that that's hypnosis. But that is a very primitive form of it. Hypnosis has since come a long way. It is very covert, it is very sneaky, and just it's amazing the steps and boundaries and levels that hypnosis can go to these days. So people could be performing hypnosis on you right under your nose and you wouldn't even know that they're doing it. Okay, so that's in part a big reason why I'm doing this video, to pretty much educate you all and make you aware of it, because it's only a danger if you're unaware. If you are aware of it and can see the signs or things that show themselves to you, well then you can take evasive action or ways or means to get around it or stop it from being performed upon you. So that's a big part of the reason why I'm doing this video, just to better arm you all. Okay, so I'll carry on with a bit more of it anyway. So a thing with hypnosis too is that it does require your attention. So you'll notice when they do the old pocket watch method, they've got to focus your attention on the watch, or you've really got to be focused on the hypnotist and things like that. So it does require you to pay attention and focus. There is a reason for that, and I'll explain a bit further on. Pretty much it's done to overload your mind, to basically put your mind in a state of confusion. All right, so the way that's done is that we are bound by the physical limitations. So I'll explain to you and I'll give you examples of the techniques that are used and what they do upon us. Now, simply, it comes down to the physical aspects where if our brains were larger, we'd have like pretty much a faster processing or faster computing speed, so to speak. We could negate around these techniques and manipulations or exploits of the physical part of us. We'd be able to get around them much easier. But because of our physical boundaries, they exploit this. So that's what it comes down to. So I'll explain and show you some examples anyway, and you'll get a better understanding from this. Okay. So on the first one, we'll do mind-bending language example. Okay. So just say there's a conversation taking place and it's in regards to apples. Okay. So there's one person who doesn't like apples, and there'll be another person that's talking to them about this, okay? So the person asking the questions will go, what don't you like about apples? Is it the colour? And that person will answer, however they wish to answer, and then they'll ask the next question. So what don't you like about apples? Is it the texture? And that will answer, and these are pretty straightforward, simple questions, which will get the person into the rhythm of answering quickly and being honest and, having a conversation. Then they'll go, is it the taste that you don't like about apples? And they'll give their explanation, their answer, and things like that. Then all of a sudden, this is the mind-bending language part. So what don't you like about not liking apples? Did you notice then for a split second, your mind had to stop and really think about that question? It's gone from very straightforward, simple questions to a very tricky one. So what don't you like about not liking apples? It takes a second to process and think what that is. So if you stop and think about it, so what don't you like about not liking apples? The answer would be, what I don't like is I know it's nature, it's fruit, it's good for you, it's healthy, and I don't like that, I don't enjoy eating that, and that's what I don't like about that. But if asked quickly, it throws your mind into a state of confusion. This is a technique they use, so just pay attention to those sorts of things. Now, I'll explain later on ways to sort of notice it and sort of get around it, but that's just one example of mind-bending language where they will communicate with you, lull you into a sense of security, and then throw one of these questions at you where off the bat it throws your mind off, and they will layer these sorts of questions on you, which will then really put you, and then now you have to focus and pay attention to what they're saying, and then really the emphasis is your thought put on these questions, which by the physical boundaries or limitations, your mind can't process quick enough simply because of the physical restrictions. So they will trick you this way, and then that's when they can implant trigger words, suggestions, and things like that. Okay, so that's just one example. I hope you noticed what I meant by that anyway. We'll move on to the next one. Verbal confusion technique. Now this one I'll read slow at first, and then I'll read it at normal pace, okay? This is just for your protection and just to give you an understanding, okay? So by doing this, I'm just helping to prepare you if these things show themselves to you later on, okay? So what they'll do is a verbal confusion technique. They will say a verbal confusion sentence, and then generally straight at the end of that, they will basically say a command or a trigger word, okay? So I'll read through it slow, and then I'll read through it at normal pace, and you'll see how this technique works. So it'll be like a riddle. They'll have it on their phone going, oh, check this riddle out, it's a bit bizarre, and you'll think nothing of it. And they'll say something like this. There's what you know. There's what you know, but don't know you know. When the things you don't know, you know. Now, read slowly, that sort of makes, you can sort of piece it together. And then straight after they say that, they will either click their fingers and say a trigger word or put a command straight in. Now, I'll read it at a bit faster pace, and you'll see how the confusion can take place. There's what you know. There's what you know, but don't know you know, when the things you know don't know. So do you see how, if that's rolling off the tongue, and it requires you to try and focus and pay attention. So if you find someone talking to you in this way or in this fashion, where they're talking, it's very quick and it's hard to keep up with, this is a hypnotic technique that they're using upon you. So that is the confusion technique, where basically they overload your mind, where from your physical limitations, you've can't process that information quick enough to put it together, and it basically overloads it, floods your mind, and that leaves you vulnerable to hypnotic attack. Okay, so we'll move on. Okay, next one is the handshake confusion technique. Now, this one, pay attention. Normally the optimum time for them to perform this on you is when you first meet someone. Okay, so what they'll do is it requires them to shake your hand, so to speak. So if you ever notice when you meet someone and you go to shake hands, it's brief, shake the hand, eye contact, hi, how you going, yada yada yada, and leave it at that. Okay, you'll notice if someone shakes your hand and it's almost like they're holding on for a prolonged time, like a prolonged period, and while they're shaking your hand, they're very intense on keeping eye contact with you. This is actually a hypnosis technique. Okay, so what they'll do, I'll give you a quick example of it. Okay, so this will be a phrase I'll say. All right, so you'll get introduced to someone. They will shake your hand. Instead of just shaking in an orderly fashion and letting go, they'll hold onto your hand, keep shaking it, and go, oh, so you're the one that they all follow. They have just implanted the trigger word follow in your mind, okay, without you even realising. So they'll be shaking your hand quick. Now, these are all, I could go into very in-depth explanations how this works via physical limitations, but yeah, they'd just be way too long a video, so I'm afraid you're just going to have to put a bit of trust in me and just believe that that's true. What I'm saying is true, okay? So this is one thing they will do. A way to negate or get around it is basically when you go to shake someone's hand, if they get one-handed and they're going up and down quickly like this, every time from now on when you shake a person's hand, put your hand out to shake. When you grab their hand, and brace your hand over the top of their hand. So you use two hands. What that does is then you can then control whether or not they're doing the shake, because that is actually essential in this part of the hypnosis technique. So when you greet someone, and also it's a comforting thing too. So there's one thing, just a big manly handshake, but if you shake someone's hand and then place your hand over the top, it's not like you're trying to wrestle or hold them, but it's an embracing. It's basically you're embracing that person, but it's also a protection for you. If you're in a fight and someone's trying to hurt you and punch you and hit you, and you huddle them, hold them, embrace them, they can't hurt you. So keep that in mind. So when you shake someone's hand, place yours over the top, and then you can actually restrict whether or not they're shaking your hand quickly. And pay attention to if they're really intense on trying to keep your eye contact, okay? Because that is the handshake technique, and they do use it, okay? Moving on. All right, next one. The verbal whisper technique. So this one I have noticed, and it's very sneaky, because for hypnosis to work, it requires you to actually pay attention. You have to focus and pay attention for them to put your mind in an altered state where then they can do or perform hypnosis upon you. So what they will use is a whisper tone technique. Now by doing this, it actually tricks you into focusing more on what they're saying. So I'm talking to you now in a normal fashion, right? A normal tone, clear, audible, you can hear me. But if I start talking to you like this very quietly, and you struggle, you'll stop, and this is how they trick you. So they'll talk very softly, and you'll be sitting there really looking at them and focusing and trying to listen on what they're saying, because you can't quite hear them. This is a tricky technique that they will use. They'll do this deliberately, so then it makes you feel, not obligated, but it puts you in a vulnerable state where you will really pay attention and focus on their eyes, because you can't hear them that well. So you've got to look for mouth movements, facial expressions, and things like that. This is a very sneaky and covert technique that they will use, and it is used quite often. If you do recognise something like this being done to you, have no fear in saying, sorry, I can't hear you, you need to speak up. Instead of you, and now most people, for good people I should say, there is people out there that aren't very nice, but I'd rather not, talk about that in this video anyway. If you're a good person, you don't want to upset or offend someone, so you'll feel that you don't want to say that to them, so you'd rather really try and focus and pay attention, because you don't want to hurt their feelings. But if you notice this technique being used upon you, it's not being done for a good reason or a good purpose, because they're trying to do it to you without you even knowing. A good person or an entity with good intentions would not do this to you. Okay, so stop, look at them and basically go, look, yeah, I can't hear you properly, could you please speak up? And this is one thing they'll do, they go, oh, sorry, and they'll start talking normally again, and then gradually it'll come back down again. They're very clever and sneaky, so pay attention to that. If you notice that, that is a technique they will use upon you. Do not be afraid to stop the conversation there and say, could you please speak up, okay? It doesn't make you a bad person or anything like that, it's just, these are techniques they will use upon you. You need to be aware. Okay, moving on. All right, next one, verbal mumble technique. Pretty much identical to the whisper technique, but while they're talking to you, they will mumble their words. Yeah, I know, he's aren't liking me telling what's going to happen. The mumble technique. Now, basically, they will use the mumble technique as well, which is pretty much like the whisper technique. So they'll be talking to you and then start, the way they speak will sound like a little mumble sort of thing. So did you hear how I done that then? They will do that, which will make you really want to pay more attention to what they're saying, to try and decipher what they're trying to say. This is them tricking you into a vulnerable state where they will mumble, and then get it to a point where your mind is vulnerable enough because they can read your mind, and then bang, a clear audible word will come out. That's a trigger or a suggestion they're putting in your mind, okay? Moving on. Okay, the trigger word click technique. I've actually, if you've checked out my channel, I've shown an example of this, a quick video of an example of this working. So basically there is the one where, now this is pre-suggested words or post-hypnotic suggestion that's been put in, so after the fact. So that it appears that they have almost like a set list of trigger words that they will use, which is pretty much around the world through media, TV, radio, where it's just standard programming, hypnotic programming, and they have pretty much a standard list. So just through listening to TV and things and stuff like that, or watching TV I should say, listening to the radio, that you've already been hypnotically programmed without knowing, and then they'll come along, click their fingers and say a specific trigger word. They will also have ones that are unique to that individual, where they will do via these techniques at a previous time or at that time. So just pay attention to when you're talking to people and that, if they say, they'll be talking along like this all of a sudden, and then they'll go, oh, click. No, I'm not going to do it because I want you to feel safe and secure. I'm only here to help. But they'll click their finger and say something like, oh, click bubblegum. And you'll think, what? And they go, oh, I meant to buy bubblegum. They've just implanted or put or used a trigger word or a command on you, bubblegum. And you don't even know what it means or anything, but it does have a meaning, and it's a trigger that's just been used on you. They're very sneaky. So pay attention to the click techniques and things like that, and if you notice people are doing this around you, start making a list. Start making a list and write this stuff down. And if you're happy to work with me, I'm happy to work with you. I think these are things we should start collectively working on and putting a list together, and we'll put a video up that has all these in there. So for future reference and other people that come along in the future, they will, if they notice these things happening, they'll be able to see on the list that, oh, okay, and we can start to piece this together, people. Piece it together, because we need to work as a team, because, yeah, they are, we're not, okay? All right. We'll move on. All right. Persuasive suggestion technique. This one is very covert and quite clever, actually, quite clever. They've used it on me many times. So I got punked with this many times for years, and just didn't even realise. So an example of this, okay? So just say you and your partner, friend, whoever's with you at the time, right? Now, you don't really feel like cooking or going out tonight. You just want a quiet night at home and a quick TV dinner or a TV meal, okay? Now, if this person doesn't want that, or they want to do a manipulation on you, this is a technique they will use, right? Now, just say they're your partner and they know you really love satay chicken, okay? They already know that you love satay chicken, you eat it all the time when you get Chinese food and all that, but this is how they will use persuasive suggestion. So you'll agree and go, okay, we'll just stay in tonight, have a quick TV meal. And then they'll look at you and go, you like satay chicken, don't you? And you'll feel comfortable around this person and go, yeah, I do. Straight after that, pretty much instantly after that, they'll go, order Chinese. Now, you've just rolled off a question where the answer was yes. and then straight away inserted behind that, they'll go order Chinese. And they take away your option to choose, which is wrong. You just don't rob people of this. That's why I do what I do. They do that. They get you rolled off a question where they know you're going to answer yes, and then straight away go order Chinese. Not like, oh, would you like to order Chinese instead tonight? Where that's giving you the choice, the option. They rob you of this. They'll instantly just say, order Chinese, and you will be tricked into it because you've just come off a yes answer, and then they just put it like that, where it's not like they're giving you the choice. It's almost like a command or a demand, and you will fall for it if you don't realise or understand this and the techniques they use. You will fall for it. I have many times. So pay attention to this technique because they use it quite often and pretty much on all of us. Okay, so we'll move on anyway. All right. The visual overload technique. So this goes back to the pocket watch. You'll see there's videos around where it will show a spiral spinning and things like that. So this is visually done, where basically you'll have to look at something which will visually put your mind into an overload, which can then put you in a hypnotic state. Have you ever noticed some of them optical illusions that are out there, where you'll hold up a piece of paper and look at one specific zone, and then the dot to the side will disappear. It'll disappear, it'll vanish out of your vision. So this is an optical illusion. The visual aspect of this hypnosis is that still works. It doesn't physically disappear, it just goes out of your vision, right? It's tucked away in the peripheral. I know you aren't liking this, but I'm still going to press ahead. Now basically, what they do is they can do this with, say, a spiral or an optical illusion of some sort, and they can actually put trigger words in these blind spots of your peripheral. Now, because your mind, once again, based on physical limitations, your mind doesn't see it, or physical limitations from your eyesight, from the way your eyes view things. They'll put trigger words in these specific zones where you technically won't see it, but it is still there and it is put in your subconscious. Because to a degree you can see it, but that specific field doesn't get processed by your conscious mind that is viewing at that time. But the fact that it is still there gets encoded into your subconscious. So this is how they use the visual overload, basically. Okay? So, alright, well, yeah, that's pretty much, these are just a few examples. There's probably much more I'll add at a later date, but these are just some things I have noticed that I want to do a video with and just share with you all, basically. If you have knowledge and understanding of these things that are out there and that are being done to us, well then that's how you better defend yourself. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I do what I do, people, to help, and, you know, basically if you have a knowledge and an understanding of these things, well then it makes it a lot harder for them to do. So that's, yeah, I'll wrap this video up pretty much here for now, and that's, yeah, I'll if I come across any more information or things are brought to my attention later, I'll gladly do another video and express a bit more information about that. Okay, so yeah, I'd just like to say thank you very much for your time. Take care. Much love. Oh, actually, also one thing before I go, I just want to say Marty McFly, Doc Brown and Exhibit will be doing a world tour. I can't tell you all the tour dates or the venues, but I can assure you it will be epic. Mwah. Much love, guys. Take care.